Hey, Martin, how you doing today?
Good, thanks, Paul. Excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, not a problem at all. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Look, as you know, we love doing our podcast and we love finding out from our guests about their journey into the sector and what brought you to this point in time.
That's a great question. Look, my journey was definitely completely unplanned. I had no previous connection to early education when I started my journey. It just kind of, fell into my lap. So to give you a bit of background, after I finished my tertiary studies, I studied consumer psychology, advertising, and business. And I thought to myself, look, I better go out there and get myself a job, right? Because that's what you have to do when you get your degree. You have to go out and pay it off, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
went out, I did the shotgun strategy. I just put resumes out to anyone and everyone, on Seek and that kind of stuff. And a couple of the ones that got back to me looked really interesting. Um, and I went in for an interview to this little known company. A lot of people listening to this podcast might just know it, which was G8 Education.
Well, I think they do.
Yeah, I think you might know it. I definitely didn't at the time, I'll tell you that much. Uh, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this looks all right. And look, I got that job, and I was really just entry level. I guess you could call it a marketing assistant or something like that. But I was there during a time that was, and I look back now and I realize just how exciting that time was for G8. That was just after they'd gone public and they were acquiring so many centers, and I was part of this exciting time. And I look back now once again and I realize I was watching some of the leaders of the sector now at their start, and I was able to watch them back then, and the way that they would handle themselves and treat this industry, and it was amazing to watch. Um, and look, after my time at G8, I decided I wanted to go out work for myself. That was always my goal. It was never to work for someone else. I always had that in the back of my mind that I want to start my own company. I want to be my own boss. That kind of young entrepreneurial attitude.
Lots
And I was
of
like,
money,
yeah,
retire at 30. Is that
exactly.
it?
And I was like, I'm going to go do it, start my own business. So I started my own advertising agency, and that was back before it was cool. So I think I was on the Gold Coast at the time. There's only two people that had one. And I was like, I'm going to do this. And then, funny enough, during that process, what I found happened a lot was that we kept getting early education clients. And a lot of the people that I was kind of dealing with were people who I had met along my journey in G8. They might not necessarily be directly working, but people who know people. And, all of a sudden I started realizing that a lot of the people I'm communicating with and hanging out with, and even my wife, and what I didn't know at the time, was working in the early education sector, and it's like everyone around me is in this sector and I really love it. And then as I went down the path of owning my own agency, um, I had one of those moments where you wake up, what am I doing with my life? Do I really love what I'm doing? You always hear that idea. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I took that on. And I was like, do I really love what I do? And I realized I didn't. I realized I didn't love what I did. It was because I was working with every industry, every single type of person, every single, whether big, small, in between. And I had to learn and understand and get into all these different types of industries. I didn't like that very much. And, I was like, it doesn't make me happy. And the one area that continuously just worked, and the people I always loved were people in the childcare sector. And I was like, you know what? I'm married to a woman who's in the sector. I have friends, my mentors are all in the sector. I'm like, let's do this. Let's focus on how we can solve problems in the childcare sector. And it grew rapidly from there. So I started Enrolment Boost just before COVID.
Yep.
And yeah, lo and behold, here we are.
Wow. Wow, that's such a lovely story. Actually, mine's a bit similar to that. I went
Yeah,
out
that's right.
of it, I come back, I went out, I come back and went, you know what? This is what I love.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
what it's all
awesome.
about, right?
It
You
is.
know,
It is what it's all about. And I'm sure there are people listening who are looking for that passion again to reignite. And that's what I hope by listening to some of the people we have as guests, Martin, such as yourself, with that enthusiasm and drive for the sector, we reignite some of that as well.
I really find, like, on that note, some of the most exciting people, as I said, that I deal with are from the early education sector. They always have to have a certain amount of entrepreneurial spirit. You can't just open a service and be like, wow, it's all working out for me. You have to have that drive. And I always find them to be very driven and successful in their own right. You know what I mean? And I find them to be great people in general. So yeah, you're right. It's a very exciting sector. And I do hope it reignites some passion too. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. And look, and what an exciting time to be in the sector with all the things now before, the wages, the working
Correct.
conditions, the focus on those who really look after our next generation, right?
100%, 100% agree.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time right now.
And I think that's why you and I are here, is for that, is to how can we do better? How can we make our next generation better?
Correct.
And support those who are actually at the front line, right? They're
100%.
there day in, day out with children from all walks of life, all cultures, families, all those family issues. Australia-wide, and then you've got worldwide, right? So it's
Yes, correct.
No, it's fantastic. Now, taking us, you just mentioned enrolment boost. So in our conversation before today, our topic's about finding new families for your service, and understanding the customer journey. Why is it so important? And obviously, customer is families, right? Regardless of how a family's structured. It's the journey.
That's right. It's a very easy target market. Ultimately, it's people who families, I guess, who have children under 5. But talking about that exact topic, I think the one thing we have to understand is obviously without new families coming into the service, you haven't got anything, right? That's obviously where it all starts. You can build a great service, you have great curriculum, you have great programs, incursions, excursions, but there's no one to do them. But what's the point? And that's a pretty straightforward kind of, we can all understand that, right? But I think where it gets a little bit tricky is to really understand how unique the customer journey is for each individual person that's looking for childcare. And that's where I think I see a lot of owners go wrong with the advertising, and where I see a lot of errors in the process. And I guess that's one of the problems that we're trying to solve, especially, is to really not like just a done for you kind of thing, but to really educate that the customer journey is so unique in early education in this sector, because it's not just a straightforward process of, I wake up one day, I feel I need childcare, I'm going to go get childcare. It's just not that simple.
It's not like buying a car.
Exactly. It's not like that. It's not like I need it today. There's a process. You're dealing with your child. It's the most important thing in the world, and making decisions based around that is completely riddled with different types of questions. You want to create the best outcome. You want to make sure that you're giving your child the best opportunity. Are you going to regret this decision? The cognitive dissonance amongst the customer journey in parents looking for childcare is huge. There's always that little voice in the back of the head. Am I making the right decision? Is childcare the best decision? Is this particular childcare the best decision? And that's one of the things that, when we say the target market's easy, it's actually not. The way that we advertise, has to speak to different segments of the audience at different times of their journey.
Yeah. And also the situation they are in right now. Yep. And that situation may change in a month.
Literally, it could happen rapidly. Those situations change rapidly because you're dealing with life. Yes. You're dealing with parents, young parents. Well, parents of young children, I should say.
But young, most are under 50, right?
Most. Look, in marketing, we have to be stereotypical. You're right. It usually is, a certain age of a group of people who have children. And that is who we
sort of that
generally market.
40, generally, yeah. And then everyone outside of that, is just comes into it. But
correct.
The journey is so emotional. I've got 3 kids. They're in their 20s. I'm sure you've got children, right?
I do. 2 children, correct.
And I'm sure most people listening either are planning to have children, or have had children that have now grown up, who all get the emotion behind what you're talking about.
And that's what it's all about. When we market, we can't just say, hey, we exist, or it's that the idea of build it and they will come. It just doesn't exist in this space. I mean, some people get lucky. Don't get me wrong; they go in an under serviced area and they open the service, and it's great. Everyone's like, "Woo, let's get on it!" But because it's the only one, it's very rare that happens these days, and that's going to get more and more rare in the future. Understanding the importance of how to communicate or message what you do and why you do it, how it benefits not necessarily just the parent but also the child, is super critical. And even there's other things that come into play now, things like speed to lead. How quickly can we approach these parents, because we don't want that cognitive dissonance to grow. We want to contact them back straight away, let them know they made the right decision, and even along the actual enrollment journey. How are people, ultimately what happens to them after they do a tour of the service? What actually happens? Where are they going? Are they coming to us or they're not?
Yeah. That speed to lead is actually something I was going to lead into, because it's actually not a movie, right? It's important.
Could you imagine Speed to Lead, the movie?
You and I could be in it.
It would have to have some. It would be a really eclectic movie, I reckon. So I'm like, it'd be very, very. I don't know how entertaining that would be.
Yes, hopefully, the imagination of those listening.
Yeah. No, look, it's not a movie. It's probably the biggest buzzword in marketing at the moment, though. So Speed to Lead recently. Look, Speed to Lead's been around for a very, very long time. I mean, it's even come back to the age-old advertising techniques back in the day. But realistically, the reason it's come back into the equation now is due to the massive influx of AI, which has allowed automations and things to happen straight away. So we've looked back into why it's important to contact somebody back straight away. And the reason it's so important in the early education space is quite literally because you have that large amount of cognitive dissonance. You have that high entry barrier. As I said, it's not like you wake up and need childcare. You've done a lot of research. You're probably still doing a lot of research. You're probably asking questions to your friends, family, forums. It's a process, right?
It is. And it is such a process.
Yeah, it's such a process, and it's, as I said, you don't just wake up and need it.
No.
And the idea of Speed to Lead is how quickly you can respond to that customer. There's actually a really cool chart out there for the listeners if they have an opportunity to just go on Google and look up the Speed to Lead chart. And it shows you in 5-minute increments the likelihood of turning a potential lead into an actual conversion. And it starts at 5 minutes and the chart starts really high up and then it starts fizzling out really quickly. So basically, by the time you hit like 95 minutes, the chance of you converting that lead is so low, it's almost ridiculous.
I agree, because if you think about it, when you go Google, you get on and you go, I'm thinking about this right now.
Right now, exactly.
Right now. So I'm going to Google, send something in, or call them.
Yep.
Right? And in all honesty, most people will Google call.
Exactly.
They don't want to email and wait for 3 or 4 days for an inquiry to come back, right? They want now because that's in their head right now.
Exactly
I'm
right.
sort of the same. You go online and you want to buy something now, and you want it now. Right,
and we are in the world of now.
We're in the world of now.
Rapid acquisition. You know what I mean? If you want something now, look at Amazon. They invented the one-click buy button for a reason.
Yes.
Because people don't want friction along their journey. And that gets even more serious as you get into more high entry barrier things like early education.
And early learning, absolutely.
Exactly. And that's, I guess, going back to that Speed to Lead thing, that is where it's so crucial for childcare services these days to have that down. Because if you think about it, you're not just dealing with cognitive dissonance, you're also dealing with parents, right? If a parent is making an inquiry on a service and they're not calling, let's say they're sending a contact form inquiry or something, they're doing that probably at night time because that's when everyone's asleep and they've got some downtime and they're able to do their research, and maybe they're scrolling and they see an ad for a childcare company and they click on it. By the time you contact them back at, let's say, 11 o'clock after witching hours finished at the service and you're able to actually go on and follow up your leads, that parent has done so much in their day, they've completely forgotten who they've even inquired with.
And they'll go, who are you?
Who are you? And that inquiry starts off
Did I reach out to you? I'm sure everyone listening is hearing these words.
Which one's
right?
this?
Yeah, who's this?
Who's this
Sorry, I
again?
didn't answer because it didn't come up with who I knew. No,
Exactly,
all,
exactly. I'm a parent. I've got a sick child. I've got, I have to make
I'm in a
breakfast. I have to do
meeting.
this. I'm in a meeting at 9 o'clock. The last thing I'm thinking of is what I did at 8 o'clock last night. And this is true. This isn't just we're not. This actually is statistically true that the longer you leave it, the less people remember what they actually inquired
Yeah,
about.
because they're probably, they may have come in, like you said, that witching hour, the kids have gone to bed,
Mhm.
or they've come home from work. Because, a lot of the cases, it's first time mums with pregnancy or dads with pregnancy, you know,
Exactly.
and they sit there at 8 o'clock at night and think, right, I can now go on and figure out my next stage of life of having a bub, going back to work. What are the costs involved, right?
Exactly. So many questions.
So many questions. It's just, yeah. So I get the speed to lead because you almost want to capture them or catch them at the moment they're thinking about you.
You're exactly right. You're spot on. I honestly could not have said that better myself. When you're fresh in their mind, that's the best time to contact them back. And now with the massive influence of AI, there's so many ways to do this as well. Good
Yeah,
CRM systems out there. Especially childcare specific ones often have this already implemented. Us as a marketing agency, we make sure this is part of what we provide because sending someone a lead is great. That's fantastic. But if that lead just fizzles out, what's the point in paying for it? So there's many ways to do that. There's many ways to achieve that, but it's definitely something all owners should look at when it comes to this. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, yeah. Now I think we sort of touched between the hope and planning, and where we're sort of covering that a little bit. So you were very big on having a plan. Do you want to tell us
Always.
a bit more about that plan? What's your secret to success?
I think a plan when it comes to advertising is everything. And, I guess in the roundabout way, we did kind of touch on that before because you have to understand that who you're dealing with isn't just as simple as parents with children under the age of 5. Within that plan, there are so many different segments that are so dynamic that you cannot just go out there and say we exist and say, hey, our childcare center is amazing. We have this amazing curriculum and we do these amazing things because no one's going to care
Yeah,
unless they
yeah,
know how it benefits them. And that's dynamic to each parent because each parent comes with a predisposition, right? So what you need to plan for is each and every one of those segments that parent is in. If I were to break down, and this might just be a little bit of cool info for the listeners, if you break down your entire audience segments, at the very, you can almost put it like a pyramid, right? And you
yeah.
segment that pyramid into 3 different segments. At the very top, you've got what you call your ready to enroll customers, right? Your ready to enroll parents. That
Tomorrow.
only makes
Yeah.
up, yeah, they're basically, they've done the research. They've said we need childcare. They're definitely in for it. We're just looking for the right one. That only makes up 3% of your market. So all of those people advertising saying, hey, we exist, we're great, look at our great new service, you're only targeting 3% of your eligible audience. You know what I mean? Now, underneath that, you've got the 27%, and these are your info gathering audience, and these are not ready to buy it. They might not enroll in a service for 2 months, but it's a huge segment of the market. And if you don't know, if you haven't planned for this and you're only advertising at 3%, your ultimate growth is going to be very stagnant and almost seasonal, right? It's not going to have consistency.
Can I ask
Being,
you, Martin,
of
that
course,
3%, this is just from
hmm
my own observations,
of
do
course,
you find most of the sector who don't have this plan that we're going through market to the 3%?
automatically without even knowing it. Without even knowing it, because they're using words like book a tour now, enroll now. As I said,
On
talking
the
about
wait
what we
list?
have, not how it benefits, not information at all. And that's fine. You want to dominate the 3% as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
No,
saying don't
no, don't
focus on
do
the
it.
3%. Do that
Just,
as well. I mean, it's got to be part, as we're talking about a plan,
yeah,
right? It's got to
yeah,
be part of the plan,
that's right. So
but
you've
not the
got your
entire plan.
3%, which is
The top,
the top. Then you've got your 27%, which are
right?
researching.
Info gathering audience. So they're the people who are like, all right, look, I don't know if we need childcare yet. We're going to have a chat with our parents, see if they can look after, our child for a few days a week. Is it better if I, take a few days off work and look after, do we save money that way? They're asking these kind of questions. And some of the other questions they ask, and this is, statistically true, is how does it benefit? How does it benefit my child? What is it that is beneficial to my child going to an early education centre as opposed to a nanny, as opposed to my parents, as opposed to whatever it might be, me staying
Mm,
home from work?
mm.
And these are questions that people ask. And
And we're also in a generation now where it is all about me.
it has to be. That's the other thing that we have to always remember. When you're planning, don't plan me, plan you, or customer, customer, customer. You know what I mean? How are we communicating with our potential parents? Not just what we do, but why we do what we do, and why it's beneficial to your child and to you as well. You know, socialization, school readiness, failing in a safe environment that isn't the home, being used to doing hard things that are out of your comfort zone. These are all so important for children's development. And I'm not the expert in that, but we all know it is.
Yeah.
I'm a dad.
Yeah. I'm a mum.
You know what I mean? We know how important this stuff is. And childcare centers offer that. And these people looking for that, if you answer those questions for them or you provide that information for them, you're rapidly going to move them up to that ready to enroll phase with your brand or your business being the trustworthy source. And that is where I think, going back to the idea of planning, it has to be in your plan to not just talk about the people who might be ready to enroll, but to also talk about people who are asking questions. You know, in your advertising, make sure to include why you do what you do. Make sure to write blogs and articles and get yourself out there and explain why it's important. If you have experts in the field in your center, utilize those experts. You know what I mean? And this can be very beneficial.
Mm. And we also know in the sector, in the actual service, we have degree qualified teachers,
Exactly.
diploma qualified, Cert 3 qualified. They've done it and they've done these courses. They've got education. They've got knowledge. Share their knowledge. What does that give you? Staff morale. It gives you families in. It part of your
Higher quality as well. Higher quality leads.
Yep.
A larger segment of the leads. You know, and look, continuing on with that, another thing I really desperately want to mention, because we deal with it with clients all the time, talking about planning, there is a point where marketing can only do so much, right? You can market your center like an absolute expert. You can hire someone to market your center like an expert. The minute that inquiry, the minute that parent gets to your door and you do that first tour, it's all on you, okay? And you know, one thing that I'm so shocked at is the amount of center owners who don't know their conversion rates. They don't know how they're actually converting. Yeah, we've got heaps of leads coming through, but only 20% convert. What? That's where your leaky bucket is right there. That, you know, it's not a marketing problem.
And in fact,
it's a conversion rate problem.
The experience I've had with some of the questions when I asked that same thing, what's your conversion rate? The funny thing is, I often hear 100%. Because they don't think about the leads that haven't joined. They're only looking at the ones coming in from that wait list, or that 3% bucket.
Correct.
So their conversion rate might only be 2% if they actually
actually broke it down properly, planned,
and
strategically planned. At what point do we need help? At what point are we doing well in? What is it? What concerns can we address within this process, with this enrollment process? You know, if we're getting leads, but we're not growing in conversion, growing in occupancy, we probably have a conversion problem. If we convert every single person, maybe we haven't got enough leads. Because, you know, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's the case. It's very rare somebody closes 100%.
It is. It's hilarious, and it's amazing how that's the thought process, right? They don't think about, because in all fairness, I'm sure you know this. The sector's not about sales. It's actually about children, right? People 100%. In the sector aren't car salesmen, real estate agents. They're actually not there to sell, but in fact their role is selling.
It is, and this is where we actually provide a training about this for center managers for this reason. Selling doesn't have to be a dirty word. Selling is what we do in our everyday lives. I mean, we sell every single moment that we you know, we're giving something out. We're trying to convince people of a certain idea or something along those lines. Yeah, everything we do is ultimately a sale when it comes to these things, and learning how to do that in a positive way that actually assists parents. You know, because you have to remember that if you honestly believe that your service is going to help parents and it is the best solution for them, it would be a crime not to sell it, because
Absolutely.
then they're going to go to a lesser service and they're not being
Yes.
looked after.
Yes.
And that is important for owners to implement into their process. I know that there's 4,000 other things to do that are probably of the equal importance, but having that as a focus will help this whole process and will ultimately help grow occupancy as well.
Yeah. And actually, if you liken it to where we're talking about sales and we sell everything, and in the sector, when you're doing your assessment and rating, right, which they've got to do every however many years, or 1 year, 3 years,
Yep,
you've actually got to sell via the quip, or via your self-assessment, or via your
exactly.
interaction with the authorised officer. You're actually selling your brand. You as a centre manager, you as
Exactly.
an operations manager, whatever it is, you're selling yourself anyway, because it's your
Correct.
team, your service that they're actually putting under scrutiny.
This is exactly right. I couldn't have said that better myself. Yeah, you're exactly right. We're always selling, and we're always, and that has to be part of your plan. It has to be part of your plan to have a team that doesn't just know how to run a good tour, but knows how to ultimately follow up. It was a very wise person in the sector once said to me, another thing that you should add to this, conversation piece of closing and selling is that no parent is window shopping for childcare. If a parent is in your service, they're
So clever.
not going to just go, oh, well, that was a great time. See you later. I might go with my day now. They're looking for childcare. And if they're not picking your service, they're picking someone else's. So we have to know where we're losing, where that leaky bucket is. We have to know at what point we're losing them.
Yeah.
Is there a follow-up process in place? How is the sales process? And this
A
is also
survey,
utterly important.
anything where you can get that feedback from that lost, but also from
Yes.
the one you've won.
So good. Such a good point, actually, Paula. It's just as important to know about why you're losing parents as to why you've gained them. It's such a crucial point. Thanks for bringing that up.
That's all right. I know.
We
You can see I've been in the sector so long, right?
I know,
I get it.
I know.
I
You
get it.
really, you're very good at what you do. I know. But it's funny though, because this is the other thing. I think we're almost afraid to get feedback on that level. Like, oh, the other center was newer. Or the other center had a reptile. I don't know. It might be something so silly that you can fix overnight. And just if you would never have known if you didn't ask that feedback. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
And sometimes it could be my friend is the director there. You're not
Exactly.
going
And
to
then
win, right?
you
You're
know.
not going to win that lead. But
Yeah.
there are other things that you go, hang on a second, we do that better. That's the key.
Exactly. Spot on, Paula. You nailed it. This is great. I'm enjoying this conversation
Yeah,
because I feel
so am
like
I, because it's
I
taking
feel like
me
you're
back.
filling in the gaps. So this is great. Like it really is, and it's so important. Like I can't actually stress how important that part is. It
Yeah.
really is.
So look, I know we're probably going to go a bit over our time here, but I just
Oh
want to
yes,
ask
sorry.
you, I'm an owner today listening. I'm a centre manager
Right,
listening.
right.
Give me sort of 4 top steps to take today to understand my enrollment journey, or my speed to lead, I suppose,
Mhm.
process, or where I'm going on. What can I do to check on my enrollments?
All right. So the very first thing is to audit what you're currently doing in terms of external advertising. So not your signage. Obviously do that as well, but that's a given, right? We should have signage, that kind of stuff. What else are you doing to promote yourself? How's your social media looking? Are you paying for advertising? How's your rankings on Google looking when people look up childcare suburb? How are you actually positioned? And look for those gaps initially. So what can I improve on? If I'm not advertising and my customers are, well, there's the first thing that you need to start doing. The second thing is really understand not necessarily what you offer that makes you different, but why it's relevant to the parent and the child. If you can change that kind of level, that communication just in itself, you're going to be doing better than most out there. If you really understand that and put that out in different ways, you can put that out in forms of video, put that out in forms of articles, put that on your actual advertising if you want, put it out there to people so that parents looking for that information see you as the trusted source, right? They see you as value, and where there's value, where there's trust, there's more opportunity of them becoming a parent at your service, right? Um,
Absolutely.
the, yeah, right.
Absolutely.
It's a no brainer.
And
The third thing, you
yep.
go on. Sorry.
No, you go. No, that's three. Yep.
The third is there four things I'm doing.
Oh, three or four. Well, you tell me because you're the
I've
expert
got
here.
four. I've got
Okay,
four.
four's good.
I know I like to ramble. I promise I'll keep it short.
No, you're good. No, this is great. This is what people are listening for, right?
I hope
This
so.
is the nuts and bolts of running a service.
Look, if people walk away from this podcast knowing just a little bit more, I'll be a very happy man today.
Yeah,
That's the goal, right? Look, number three, I would definitely say audit your enrollment process. Find out how many new leads versus tours versus conversions, and really get the data on that, because then you're able to figure out at what point of that journey, like we spoke about at the beginning, people are falling off and where you need to fix it. If it's not enough leads, fix your marketing. If tours are canceling, there's that speed to lead, that follow-up process, right? Get to that person straight away. If it's not enough conversions, it's your tour process. And if there's a delay in conversion, it's your follow-up process. These are all really important factors. And the fourth one is that last one, the follow-up process.
yeah,
Implement something where you're getting feedback at all times, be it positive or negative. Hey, we love that you enrolled. Can you tell us what you loved about our service or the tour process? Hey, we see you haven't brought back enrollment forms. What was it? Have you found somewhere else? Why did you pick somewhere else? Get that information, put it on a little register so you can fix those problems. And then it's pretty much, it's occupancy growth right there.
yeah. And look, and the other thing is when you're talking about a parent and calling them about getting that feedback, I think sometimes you've also got to be really upfront. I only need a minute of your time.
Oh my God,
I
you're right.
only need, because you know what? When you get a phone call, I know, and that someone trying to sell me something or follow up or do something.
Not
If
interested.
they don't ask me how much time have I got, I say I haven't got enough time.
Spot on, Paula. That's actually, once again, you nailed it. It is, and it is. We have to remember we're dealing with parents. We're dealing with time poor, busy parents. Hey, I just want really quickly, 30 seconds, get an opinion from
Yeah,
you. And often people are willing to help. That's
yeah,
the thing. Most people are willing to help. You're always going to get the outliers, but most people are willing to help out.
they are. They are. Because once again, parents, education, early learning, we're all here for the care factor. We're all here because we care.
100%.
It
100%.
is quite amazing, actually. The other thing I was going to ask you was, what would you say to an owner where they figure out that it's the tour where it's dropping off, that there's something wrong with the tour, the person doing the tour isn't confident, the person doing the tour doesn't have enough skills, or
Yep.
they don't want to do it because they're too busy. There's so
Mm-hmm.
many factors
So
about
me.
why someone, whether they be a centre manager, a room leader, whoever it is, what
Correct.
advice would you give to someone where that tour is the issue?
Honestly, I think this is where you have to be ruthless in the degree of, if you are able to provide training, if you're able to consistently provide, the tools for that person doing the tours, and they still can't do it, it's time for someone else to take over that role. And that doesn't mean the entire role. I mean just the tour process. You know what I mean? I'm not saying to go on some weird spree of getting rid of people, but it's
No,
hard enough to find staff as it is. But
no, that's
but
exactly
what I'm
right.
saying
Don't
is,
replace, train.
yeah, I guess what I'm saying is you have to be ruthless in the fact that this is your bottom line. You know what I mean? From a business perspective, strictly, this is your bottom line. And it's super crucial that the person doing the tour creates an instant perception of what the experience will be like further on down the line. You have to make, that parent feel, as I said, there's cognitive dissonance, there's all these things. You have to make them feel like they're making the right decision. And the best way to do that is to actually show them why they're making the right decision. This is why we do
Yes.
this. This is why we have this facility. This is our sign-in sheet. This is our security. These are all the things that we have, to show them off. And I would say if the person doing the tours is not able to do that, first provide them really good training. Okay, and I mean, I'm not trying to plug myself here, but we do provide that training. And I'm sure there's other people out there in the sector who provide this kind of training.
But Enrolment Boost do provide the training.
We do, yeah, we do provide that training, absolutely, because we know how essential it is. It's one thing to get leads, but if they don't go anywhere, what's the point of getting the leads?
And you're probably spending money on all those
You spend
platforms to get leads in.
exactly.
In fact, you're better off to stop that, train your person, and then go back.
Literally.
Is
Correct. There is no point if that leaky bucket is at that point of your journey. That has to all be fixed up almost in, reverse
yeah,
engineered,
yeah,
so
yeah,
so when the leads come in, they have a great process. And, as I said, training is probably the number one thing. And of course, first of all, before anything, you have to find out what it is. What is your conversion rate? Parents are extremely sensitive when they come in, and they always come in with a predisposition. Whether we like it or not, all parents have a predisposition about early education. When they come in for that tour, it could be the smallest thing that they don't like. It could be that, as I said, maybe witching hour in the center and all the babies are crying. That might be very agitating. Or I don't like it. It seems out of control. It might be that children aren't wearing hats. It might be that the security door was open when they came in. It's little factors like this. So on top of the training, have a checklist that you go through with the person doing the enrollments of all the little mini features that are going to be important, big things for a parent. And these are things that I think also is extremely beneficial to do regularly, because we get used to, we're at our workplaces so much that we just get used to our surroundings. And until somebody looks at it with fresh eyes, you don't even realize that there's something wrong there.
yeah.
So that's a really good start.
And the staff, the educators, center manager, they are usually doing the best they can do
Of
with what they've
course.
got and what they know, and the what's happening right now for them as well.
Look, center managers are the busiest people. I work with center managers my whole time at G8. I have so much respect for them. I know how busy they are. They're doing 1,000 things. They're wearing 2, 3, 4, 5 different hats. If something goes wrong at the start of the day, someone calls in sick, it doesn't show up, that whole day is out of whack. It's up to them to control it. Then to do this on top of that.
Yep.
And that's why having checklists and having training, it actually helps the center managers, or helps the person doing the tours.
Absolutely. And actually, you mentioned checklists, and I think this is just from my perspective, is that when you're a family, giving out paper these days, is that seen as, is there better to give them something they can do digitally in their own time easily and just hit send back, rather than take a piece of paper home, try and fill it in, or even have that digital solution where they think, oh, this is easy, make my life easy.
Without even a shadow of a doubt, we are in the digital age.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, how annoying is it when you still get a bill in the mail?
Yeah. I know. I look for
I pay for it online. And we are dealing with parents who are in that age frame where being digital is a norm. So I definitely agree. Digital checklists all day.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, that's actually, I love having those 4 steps. Someone can take away those 4 steps, and really what you're saying. First and foremost, check your conversion rate.
100%. Reverse engineering.
Real about it. It's not 100%. Get your number right.
Get your numbers right. Look at the data. Data doesn't lie.
Yep, absolutely. And now, all our guests, what we ask them is from your perspective, what are the challenges facing the sector over the next couple of years?
Oh, there's a lot of challenges. But I think from my perspective, which would be the marketing perspective, I think the obvious one would have to be the implementation of AI. Because what's happening now, and not a lot of people actually know this unless you're in the space, is we're getting a lot of diluted content, which we're getting a mass amount of content. And when I say content, I mean that in every sense of the word. You can go on TikTok today and you can see half of them are robotic images, pre-designed AI images, robotic voices. We're not dealing with people anymore. And if you go back to when the internet was first rolled out to the average human, right? You didn't have to be a computer wizard to know how to make a website. If you didn't have a website, you were left in the dust. Now, AI, I think, is going to be a little bit reversed when it comes to this sector. I think you have to strategically know how to use AI and not be the first adopter or the early adopter, because it's going to take away from that personalization from what is so crucial in early education. Now, I'm not saying don't use AI. We love AI at Enrolment Boost.
I love AI.
I'm a huge AI fan. We're creating some great things with AI that are going to help the sector.
But use it as
It's
a
going to be,
tool. Is that what you're saying? Use it as a
yeah,
tool.
we've got some
Don't
things coming
replace.
out, correct? They're going to help with all this stuff that we've been talking about. But the one thing that we don't want to do is take away the personalization or the personal aspect of early education, because we can't forget we are dealing with parents. We can't forget we're dealing with a high entry barrier service. We can't forget that parents have got predispositions and questions and anxieties and all sorts of different things that they want to know before they make a decision. And AI, as good as it's going to get, can never beat the sentiment and the psychology and the emotion of a human. And when it can, we're all dead anyway. Because
Yeah,
humans will be obsolete.
yeah. There's no point. That's
So,
robots. That's
be kind to your AI.
yes, yeah.
Always use your please and thank
Water it
yous.
well.
Yeah. But look, I would say that's the biggest thing is that AI will dilute a lot of the processes of it will dilute it from a personalization aspect.
Yeah,
And I think that the services will have that create a real human element will have a great advantage in the next few years as all the bigger companies move to AI to
yeah.
speed up and streamline their processes. If
Can I
you can
ask you,
utilize
Martin?
AI, go on.
Is this where enrollment boost can help as well? Is this something
Oh,
that
absolutely.
right? Okay, because there's some. I'm sure there's people listening going, we don't even have a clue about AI. We don't even know what to do. We're going to do it wrong, or we're not. We're not going to do it at all.
Spot
So
on.
reach out to Martin, or you may have someone already, whoever it is. But enrollment boost can obviously help you with developing that personal touch, still that marketing around, but using the
Absolutely, we can.
AI perspective of it. Sorry, I've
Yeah,
interrupted
we
you before.
no,
Sorry.
no. I appreciate the plug. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And yeah, reach out to me directly. I love conversing with centre owners. My favorite thing to do. The favorite part of what I do is conversing with centre owners. So yeah, please reach out to me directly. But look, we can 100% help you with that because the balance of AI needs to be, as I said, adopted slowly, and it needs to be tested and tested and tested before anything wild gets created and we start taking over. Or sorry, eliminating whole processes and replacing it with AI. Now, as I said, I am talking about the future. Right now, a lot of centres haven't even begun to understand what it even means.
Mm,
And that's actually a good thing for the early education sector.
it is.
I think that as we grow and as it becomes the norm, as it will, it's rapidly growing
Yeah.
right now. We need to make sure that we keep that level of personalization. I really do see that because I see it in my space, in the marketing space. I see so much diluted, watered down content. I see robotic processes. I don't see anybody putting their face out there anymore, giving actual information that people want to hear. They're just saying things to say them because a robot wrote it for them.
Yeah,
And it's important not to do that.
and in fact, what that does is AI obviously is robotic, right? So I've
It
got
is.
10 services in my suburb,
Mhm.
all using AI to do something. The
Yep.
chances of it being the same must be huge.
Of course, it's going to be because especially at this level of AI, who knows what happens in 10 years' time when it becomes, as I said, like
Human.
basically the next humans. But
Yeah,
we've got
yeah.
Terminator
Scary.
5 or
Yeah.
whatever we're up to. But it's one of those things where I think that we just have to always keep that in the back of our mind that it technology advancements are fantastic if they're used in the appropriate manner and not just to have the shiny object syndrome. Let's use this and let's use that because it's new. It's going to make everything better. It's going to make our processes so much better. That's what the bigger guys are going to do. And they're going to probably learn how to do that because they've got a lot more resources to test and that kind of stuff. For the average, 1 to 10 center owners, um, really be careful with how AI is going to be changing and evolving the space. And don't be numb to it. Don't be deaf to it, but definitely use it appropriately. And as I said, contact us if you want to know how to use it appropriately. We test this every day. We're testing new things every day with clients, and we're getting some great success stories.
And of course, we'll share all your details, ways to contact you, Martin, with the podcast
Oh,
as
thanks,
well.
Paul.
Anyway, so you'll send us what you'd like to share with our listeners and our audience, and of course, then we'll make sure that they can contact you directly as well.
I really appreciate that. That's great.
Pleasure. This has actually been lots of fun. And in fact, what I might try and do is organise with you later in the year to do a podcast specifically on AI.
Oh my
Let's
God,
make.
let's do it.
I think it's so needed um, before
It's going to be the
before
buzzword.
everyone gets it not so right.
That's a great idea. You know, look, I'm having a lot of fun, so this
Yeah,
is great. I'm
yeah,
loving
so am
this.
I.
Yeah, really, I am truly.
Yeah, look, I have such great fun with our guests. They're all and like just it's just so good to be able to share simple things from people who care about the sector.
Correct.
Yeah, as I
Agreed.
said, it's one person who can make a difference, and you're making a difference.
I
Um,
love that.
Now, can I ask you before we finish up? We love to
Yep.
know. Well, actually, I love to know wise words, motivational quote. What got you here? What's something today? Do you go? This is my motto, or this is something I want to share with you to see
Ooh.
where my spirits come from.
Okay. I actually love this question. I love this question because I have soul searched on that question so many years of my life. And the one I love the most, the one that really motivates me every day is, and I don't know who made this saying up, so I can't quote it. I think I've adapted it to myself a little bit, but I definitely didn't make it up. Um, your net worth has got zero to do with income or money and everything to do with how many people you help.
Oh, that's
I
so good.
Is that good or what?
That
Like
is good.
if because what happens is I think what happens in business in general, we see a lot of people focus on the bottom line and focus on what's making money, and I think that's important. Don't get me wrong; I'm not dumb to
And
the
shudder
fact that there is
away.
an economic process. There is a reason that we do what we do. But if you look at it from the perspective, and it really resonates to the education sector too, the more people we help, the bigger our net worth is. And that fills you with a completely different sense of purpose. You know, money is a byproduct; it's not the focus.
Absolutely.
The next child enrolling isn't about getting the parent to. I mean, obviously there is that, as I said, that financial aspect, but it's about what are we doing for that family? How are we helping that family? You know, I always say this to center managers on those sales trainings that we do. Keep in mind why you're actually here. You're here to solve a problem and ultimately relieve a pain point for parents. Parents might be able to go back to work thanks to your safe and secure environment of care.
Yeah.
People might be able to look after family members, whether it be new family members into the new babies, or whether it be a disabled partner or parent, or somebody who needs extra care. You're providing that time, and I've heard all these stories for real. This is not just things I'm making up. I've heard of these stories before where it actually really solves a problem, and it really cures a lot of pain for a lot of people to have their child in a safe, secure environment where they're learning, where they're achieving, where they're able to fail in a safe environment and come out of it strong. And I think that if we think about it that way, everything else becomes a lot easier. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
And look, I heard recently a statistic, and I look, and I don't quote me on this number, but I
Mm-hmm.
heard about 8 children in each service, regardless of where you are. So on statistically, 8 children per service of coming from an environment where there's some form of abuse, violence, neglect, money issues, whatever that is, but really, really, you know, uh, in a bad place, that them coming to your service
Mm-hmm.
makes a difference. And you may not even be aware of that.
Yep,
So I
correct.
think it was 8. I think it was something, what it was a number that shocked me.
Yeah, and these are terrible things, and that's once again is we can't the way to change the world starts in your backyard, right? And it's one of those things where I think if we're doing the right thing in our services and we're providing that environment, that's a very good start. And I think that's once again where that motto really comes into play.
It
You
does.
know, we're
Yeah.
actually helping people here. Your net worth is not about money. It's not about how much you're earning. It's about how many people you're helping,
Yeah.
and that is much more valuable as well.
Because
You know what I mean?
it's doing good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
No, that's fantastic. Oh, I mean, this has been lots of fun, Martin.
I
Seriously,
love this.
I've had such a great time, and I just hope that someone from our audience is actually going to make a
Yep.
difference to their enrolment, to their service, and it could be someone listening who's thinking, "What am I doing wrong?" So reach out to Martin, reach out to the team at Enrolment Boost. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to our next one on AI.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate your time. This has been awesome. You're the best.
Same here. Have a great day. Talk to you
All
soon.
right, Paula.
Okay, see
Take
you.
care. Bye, everyone.